Welcome to California in Focus. I'm Madeline Shannon here with Kenneth Schrepp to talk about his story, Cash Assistance Program for Immigrants. So I have a few questions for you here about this story. What is the impetus behind this Cash Assistance Program for Immigrants in California?
In California, we're spending $278.4 million this year on this cash assistance program for immigrants. It provides state-funded payments, 100% state-funded payments mostly to elderly and disabled non-citizens who are rejected from the federal Supplemental Security Income program due to their immigration status. This comes with a, matching equivalent of what would have been SSP, or the state supplemental payment. And there are concerns about this program because it's just a large ongoing expense, and there were certain reasons why these people might not be included in the existing Social Security Supplemental Security Income program in the first place. Right now, we face a $18 billion deficit for the state for the coming fiscal year. That's rising to $35 billion a year, sustained starting in the 27-28 fiscal year. It's the first year that Governor Newsom's successor takes office. So we face a lot of fiscal challenges moving forward.
And do you believe that this is a program that was started or that the state is pushing in response to the federal government's anti-immigrant status?
Well, this is a program that is decades old at this point, and it was created to provide, essentially, payments that Americans get if they are elderly or disabled and are low income. These are mostly for people who fall in one of two categories: people who have not been in the country long enough to be able to qualify for SSI, or people who came in as humanitarian immigrants who have used up their 7 years of SSI that they can get. The idea behind the 7-year limit, you can only collect for 7 years if you're let in as a humanitarian immigrant, is that you'll have either naturalized by then, or become green card holder, or received 40 quarters of your work credits, either from working yourself or getting work credits transferred, I think, from a sponsor or a family member. So yes, the largest two groups of people here are people who have not been here long enough or have not naturalized or worked within this sort of 7-year time frame that they're allowed to collect benefits for. Additionally, though, there are a lot of people who qualify for this program under something called permanently residing under color of law. PRUCOL is this status that's not an official status, but it does, in the state of California at least, allow for collection of a range of benefits. If you look through their handbook for this specific program, again, like which people they'll accept under which categories varies by program. But PRUCOL in California, for the purpose of CAPI, this cash assistance program for immigrants, includes individuals who have been issued an order of supervision by federal immigration authorities. And those are usually given to people who have final deportation orders, but are allowed to remain in the country under supervision because, issues can range from home country has refused to accept this person, or there are sometimes humanitarian reasons for letting someone stay. Maybe they're getting medical treatment, maybe they're caring for a child who needs medical treatment, or a close family member. There are reasons that this is given. According to ICE, there are about 7.6 million individuals in the U.S. who are being overseen in the non-detained docket, and that includes people with orders of supervision.
And what's the humanitarian response to this program, if that's a fair question to ask?
Well, the humanitarian aspect of this, there are people who come in as humanitarian immigrants. They can already collect SSI benefits for 7 years. And again, if they haven't taken the requisite action to be able to either naturalize or collect other benefits normally, then this 100% state-funded program kicks in as an available resource for them. For people who have been here for less than 5 years, again, they're able to collect from this program if they meet other state requirements. There are questions of whether the same thing, legal status, is the same thing as legal immigration. It seems like those are not necessarily mutually consistent definitions between the federal and state government, but different states have different systems with which they do this. I did look more through this program, and all it does is provide the equivalent of what you'd get from the federal plus state benefit program, but to people who are non-citizens. And whether or not that's a good or a bad idea, that is something that has to really be answered by looking at the amount of funding available for the state. You see that the state has made some cuts to Medi-Cal, mental health care, disability services that a lot of citizens use. This is purely a program for non-citizens who are, outside of the very broad scope of federal benefits. And this was in response to 1996, I believe, legislation that was signed into law by President Clinton that were just some basic SSI, SSP reforms that I think were fairly bipartisan in agreement. That's why it passed through Congress and it was signed into law by President Bill Clinton. And so the state of California decided to step in and cover this remaining population. It's not a huge population, but it is expensive. $278.4 million is to cover an expected caseload of 18,920 individuals. That's about $14,715 per recipient over the course of the year, which includes, of course, the cost of administering the program. The standard benefit for elderly or disabled individuals under this program is $1,206.94 a month. And that's in addition to other programs that people may qualify for.
Well, thank you so much, Kenneth, for talking about this story. This is really interesting, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this again. This has been California in Focus, and I'm Madeline Shannon. Join us next time.